Good Friday afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. Good to have
Hey,
you with me. There you are here.
I
Okay, good.
am. Here I am.
Okay, good. And we have some other people here with us. Chief Auden, thanks for joining us live today. And for anybody else that's live, thanks for showing up. It's Friday after a very tumultuous week, which we will get to in just a few moments. Maybe what it is what you're thinking. Maybe it's not. That's okay. In case you don't know who we are, my name is Darren Pope. This over here is Victor Farsick, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And on Fridays, we do these live streams just to sort of put the bow on the week. And today, I have my drink. It's lime. Come on. Get out of their face. There we go. There's lime. What do you have?
I have water. I'm
Still.
jumping from meeting to meeting. I did not have time even to get my beer.
Oh, so you're classifying this as a meeting.
I'm meeting you right now.
Happy Friday to you, too. It's been one of those weeks.
Yeah.
I see where I rank in the order of things here. That's fine. That's completely okay. For this week, though, the podcast we had a guest on, Randy Abernethy, and the title was sort of. I'll be honest, it was a little hard for me to come up with a good title for this one because we talked about so many different things, and one of the ones that stuck was digital transformation costs. But
Did we ever stick to a single subject? You sounded like surprised. We talked about many different things. Did we ever manage to stick to a single subject? for the
Oh,
podcast?
no, never.
Okay.
But usually there's a consistent theme throughout, or at least an underlying theme, not maybe consistent. This one, we jumped from place to place to place. And the thing that was interesting too is how he was comparing and contrasting Apache Software Foundation and the CNCF. That was an interesting conversation. What was that? Oh.
Oh, yeah. That was really cool.
So if you haven't listened to that yet, in all your spare time, especially if you're in the States and you have Monday off, then you can squeeze that one in.
Is it holiday? Next
There's
Monday?
a holiday on Monday, yes. So that means you're not going to
Oh.
have to deal with anyone on Monday. So you're going to be able to get a lot of work done.
Oh, yeah. I will need to convince Europe also to do the same thing. If only those two continents could synchronize, and then that would be amazing.
Well, the UK had Monday off. That was a bank holiday in the UK.
Oh, I said Europe.
Yes. And I understand that Europe and UK, I'm not that dense.
I'm kidding.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am. So let's get into the big news of the week. And this just reminded me of a movie from the 80s. I Want My $2. Did you ever watch Better Off Dead?
I remember that picture. I remember that scene, but I have no recollection of the movie.
Yeah. So I went back on YouTube and found a stream, and I realized, okay, I probably shouldn't play that on our stream today, and that's okay. But just go Google "I Want My $2." And actually the title, I've already come up with a title for today, so that I'm so thankful for that. Docker wants their $5. That's going to be the title for today. And I don't blame them. They should get their $5.
Of course they should.
Okay, next topic.
No, this is happening very often. Whenever a company says that, hey, I should start charging for this and that because, my engineers are getting paid to do the work, there is a public outrage. Hey, this let me see. Similar was happening with K9S, right? Hey, K9S wants to have additional features that would cost money. People were outraged. Now with Docker, and the same thing happens over and over again. To me, the only discussion is whether there is a good value proposition in what they're offering, whether it's worth the amount of money, and if it is, there's nothing wrong with them charging. Absolutely nothing. The only potential problem I see in all that is that it is much easier to charge for something new that wasn't free in the past than to convert some free offering into a charge offer. That's the only potential problem. That's always problematic. Other than that, it's was it $5 per
5
person?
US. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Docker is a strategic piece of software for most companies. Strategic. It tremendously increases developer productivity and does a lot of things that we need to do. And $5, I bet that most companies spend more on coffee per employee than $5.
And that really also stinks when you're an employee that doesn't drink coffee.
Exactly. Then you get nothing, neither Docker
Yeah.
nor coffee.
Right. So here's my take on it. And if you did not watch Brett Fisher's stream yesterday, you need to go back and watch that. And that would have been on September 2nd, just in case you're watching this in the future. He goes into a lot more detail with him being a Docker captain. Victor, you're still technically a Docker captain, right?
I am a Docker captain, yes. I just don't attend as many meetings anymore as Brett. I'm not that involved, so he's much better source of information than I am.
Right. So if you haven't watched his stream from yesterday, you should, because he actually did was it an infographic or something? I don't know if you watched it all the way through yesterday.
I did.
To where he was showing
Scott.
the benefits of Docker Desktop and all the different things. So from my side, it's pretty rare that I use Docker Desktop. Most of the time when I'm using Docker, it's actually on a Linux machine. So I don't need, meaning because I'm doing a lot of stuff with Jenkins or a lot of work with Jenkins. And if I'm going to use Docker as a tool to build my images, then I'm installing that on usually a VM. And my use case is different. I don't need the magical volume management, and I don't need, for what I'm doing, I don't need a big Docker Hub account. I'm not doing that many pulls. I'm not doing that many pushes. It's very limited. So for me, the $5, it's not a thing of the $5. I just don't need it. Now, it doesn't mean I may not need it in the future. But at the moment, and of course, I thought it was interesting. I will say this about it. I thought it was interesting that they announced it on August 31st and they made it effective immediately with a grace period. There is a grace period. Yeah. Yes, there is a grace period. But it was just interesting how they did that. I don't think it was good or bad. I just thought it was interesting. Because usually that would cause a lot of people, it's like, wait, now you're telling us at the same time you're doing it? Take a look at this past 18 months. That's sort of the way the whole life has been. So it was just another way of things happening. But I don't have a problem doing that. I am concerned, though, that $5 per user, especially since they're not enforcing it, and working under the honor system, I don't know if that's even going to make it make sense.
I mean, realistically, that's aimed for big companies. I mean, even if you look at the pricing model, basically you need to be earning, I might be wrong now, correct me, more than 10 millions and more than 250 employees.
Yep.
So basically, we're talking about mid to big size companies here.
Yeah.
Right? And for those companies, it's really honor system is what makes perfect sense because majority of companies of that size or bigger, they do not play the game of, hey, we're going to trick the system because legal implications, potential of using something. I mean, realistically, you can use almost any software with a bit of workarounds for free. They don't do that. Right. It's too dangerous.
Right. That's
the only thing I have here is that kind of the ratio 10 million to 250 employees is somehow doesn't fit my brain. I imagine that 250 employees companies tend to have like at least 50 million. Kind of like that million, the amount of millions is too low compared to the number of employees. Maybe I'm living in a fantasy land where actually that's a normal figure, but
Yeah.
I imagine it should be higher.
Yeah. But again, for more details on this, go watch Brett's live stream from yesterday. A couple more people have dropped in. Stefan, good to see you.
Hey,
Popcast,
Stefan.
good to see you here.
Hey, Dan.
So I don't fault Docker. They've got to come up with some way to make money. Period. So I'm just concerned that there's going to not be enough people to actually pay for it to justify it.
And one more thing that I think is important when we think about that is we need to look at it as something that is very important precisely because we want Docker to continue doing the stuff for free that we are all used to. The reality of the situation is that if we don't pay, if those who are if companies do not give that money to Docker, Docker will not be able to continue doing what it's doing, and then we are all going to be in a bit of a worse place than we are right now.
Just a bit.
Yeah, more than a bit.
More than a bit. That's yeah.
You can realistically spin up a VM and do 90% of what Docker is doing, but it's going to be painful and then complicated and whatsoever. It's not worth the trouble for that amount of money.
Correct. As an application developer, that is true. For the type of work that I'm doing, it's fine. So
yeah,
my use case is different.
The target audience for Docker Desktop are developers and maybe to an extent testers, right? Not really infrastructure type of people, shared services. No.
Right. Okay. So sort of tying this into the note here, I saw a tweet from Amet this week. What validations do you run between Docker build and kubectl apply? And I thought this was a very good question.
Yes,
because now, sometimes I remember to do Docker push. Besides that, what kind of validation should you do?
All the validations that require your application at runtime.
Okay.
So kind of like, you stuck, I tend to at least put into Docker file all the stuff that needs to happen before the build, before the image is created, run unit tests, static analysis, all the things that do not require that application to be up and running in a cluster. And then after that, we are talking about heavy lifting, things that probably you don't do much locally, but through some CI/CD pipeline, And now everybody calls it differently. Feature testing, performance testing, integration testing. What were the answers?
Well, let's take a look, because I didn't go beyond this one, just because I just had to laugh. Seb, what's kubectl apply? I do. Okay, this is a pretty good one. What's kubectl apply? I do a git push.
Exactly.
Dry runs diff. Okay, more replies. Or actually here. I never knew validations were needed between those two stages.
Okay, but when you do it in pipelines, you're performing validations.
Correct. And that's what does your pipeline validate before deploying an image? What should we use? Okay. As we use GitOps for promotion, that commit message always includes the diff between the current and the one to be promoted image.
It's this thread feels like people are answering giving random answers, and then Ahmed is coming back. Yeah, but I said validations. Yeah, but what do you do? It feels like conversation I have with my 11-year-old.
Yeah. I guess one. Container test, if you do this, has it ever failed? It's like, I would love to find out why he asked the question. Because...
But I cannot believe that nobody's saying we run tests. We run functional tests. Okay. Is that not a thing we do anymore?
I guess not. So I'm curious, what kind of validations can I run between those two phases? Thank you. Container image structure test, manifest validation, dry runs, right? He started listing them out. Now this is interesting. I haven't heard of this one before. KubeConform, have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
To make sure deployments are valid and compatible with the Kubernetes version. I don't have my notes in here. KubeConform, I'll remember it. Plus we have this video, I can go back and watch it anyway. How did you choose between KubeConform and kubeval? KubeVal, whatever it is. Oh, this is interesting. We execute Helm chart unit test and Helm lint before pushing the charts. Okay. And this goes on and on. So all of that goes back to what do you do between build and apply? You're laughing too much here. I don't understand why you're laughing so much.
No, I don't know. It sounds like a funny conversation where nobody understands anybody.
Yeah. Stefan, functional end-to-end test and Helm template.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the answer.
Done. Okay. So we've talked about Docker wanting their $5. Yay, Docker. What do you do between Docker build and kubectl apply? Aqua came out with a blog post in the past week, or just over the past week. I missed it for last week. We talked about this either last week or week before last about just because an image is official doesn't mean it's secure. Something that was built 3 years ago is probably not being built every week, every day, every 5 minutes. So they went through and dug into a few of these. So the Rails image, where is it? Okay, base image, okay. Okay, right. The official image is also easily spotted, so you see whatever, right? So you can see that it's an official image. But they went through and scanned it with Trivy, which is Aqua's tool. Django is, hey, updated 10 hours ago. But when you go take a look at it, it's deprecated. Just because it's official doesn't mean you should be using it. So
correct.
This gets back to software bill of materials, software supply chain, all of the things that I believe are going to be the hotness for the next 18 to 24 months. It's already hot, but it's filtering down to everybody now.
There is also misunderstanding what official image is, what it means to be an official image. Like you had, what was it? Red Hat Satellite. I mean, you probably already still have it, right? Where those are the libraries that Red Hat in a way guarantees that they are good and safe and stuff like that, right? And you should still scan them and do all the jazz. But Docker Hub official images, each of them is maintained by and verified or not by different people. So people think that Docker stands behind those images. That's absolutely not true. Docker might stand behind some, but that's a community maintained basically set of images. Anybody could theoretically be involved in making them official.
Now, the chances of an official being completely horrible, unlike what we just saw, is probably smaller than me just pushing up an image.
Smaller,
right?
But for a different reason than what people might think. Smaller because there are more eyes on that image, rather than because many of those official images are maintained by one person, just like you pushing it to your own repo, right? Unofficial one. So it doesn't mean that an official image has necessarily more involvement or is better off than your own image. It's just that there is statistically bigger chance that image has more eyes on it. That's the major difference.
So that is the major difference. But what they show here in this next section was the following official images had more than 50 unpatched vulnerabilities. Okay, fine, no big deal. One of which being CentOS. Okay, just go with me for a second. A commonly used based image. Whether it should be or not, different conversation. But it is. So then they took a look at the downloads from a period from July 29th to August 10th. So 13, 14 days. I can't do the math fast in my head. A couple weeks. CentOS had 7.4 million downloads in roughly 2 weeks.
There you go. That's
It's an official image that have, what was the number they said? 50 or more than 50 or more unpatched vulnerabilities. But yet, people are still pulling this down. Now, I am guilty of saying, hey, look, if you take a look at either verified or official, that doesn't mean it's perfect, but you should have a better warm, fuzzy feeling. I think I want to retract that statement that I ever said it in the past. I think it was okay, but now that I've learned more, it's not a complete truth. So,
oh yeah.
how much of a problem? Security, right? Unpatched vulnerabilities, which leads us to the I don't understand why, but I understand why. GitHub announced that they are going to be changing what types of keys are supported via SSH. You use SSH for most of the things you do, right? That you interact with?
Yeah.
GitHub?
Yeah, it's SSH or HTTPS.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, in GitHub, to be honest, and I know that I shouldn't be doing that, I tend to use HTTPS more than SSH.
Yeah. But recently, they removed support for passwords over HTTPS. So you can still use HTTPS, you just can't use your password that you log into GitHub. That was said goodbye. That's all gone now.
Yep.
But now they are changing up what types of SSH keys you're using. Which now I need to go back in, and I've been using SSH keys for however long, I've lost track. I'm pretty good about rotating them, but now I've got to go back and say, oh, okay, do I have these keys? Or is my key most correct? So, fortunately, this is a pretty long run. They are doing this over, takes effect in roughly 11 days. And they start brownouts in November. And then by March 15th, DSA is done. So they're moving this one pretty fast. I think. I mean, it's not horribly fast, but it's fast. So what will you be doing? Rotating your keys regardless?
Yeah, I mean, for
Can't hurt.
individuals, that's not a problem either for individuals or for companies where employees are used to do most of the things themselves. So, hey, I have this problem in GitHub, I need to change that. It's not a big deal. It's more for those companies that have the processes that everything needs to be done by some central authority, and then they are going to be in big trouble. I mean, whenever changes like that happen, they are in big trouble.
Well, if they have the knowledge right now, it definitely wasn't on their work plans. And realistically, you give it to them now, and they know that they've got a couple of months. They're not going to make it a high priority, which means it's going to get drug out even worse. And then come January and March, they're going to be freaking out.
Now you see the advantage of things like what Docker did. Hey, effective immediately.
That's true. Like
You cannot drag it out.
Yeah, so looking at this calendar, I would have probably, well, they don't have everything fully yet. Like, so this final brownout, I probably would have said, this is where I would have started. Like, first brownout, I would have made the announcement and brownout starts now. Assuming that this was already there, right? This would have already been done, and this would have been the announcement.
Correct.
But anyway. And if you're not using GitHub, why not? It doesn't really matter. If you're not using Git, I should say that. If you're not using Git, that's where we can have more fun.
If you're not using Git, I think that you passed the point of no return. There is nothing you can do.
Yeah. Point of no return. That's a good way to get us into this next one.
Oh, I have psychic abilities.
You do. Why the heck do I want to have a minimum number of cloud functions running? This makes absolutely zero sense to me, even after reading this blog post. Why? The purpose of a function is to be run and done, or one and done, or run and done, however you want to say it. Why do I want a minimum number of these running? Why, if I'm doing that, why not use Cloud Run?
I think that's the key. Kind of like this is bad for people who use functions for the things that shouldn't be functions. There is a place for something to be a function. There is a place for something not to be a function. And if you mix the two, then you have a problem, like with cold starts. That's how it is.
I understand that. But this is, in my opinion, this is one place Google should have said no. I think this is a very bad idea.
But you know how it works. Customer asks, you do it.
I know.
If that customer is above certain threshold that you think is significant.
Yeah. But I guess, now that I'm thinking about it on the other side, if I had written something as a function, because I needed just a single thing, but see, to me, even functions, even if I have a single function, a single method in an application, I would still use, if I'm on Google, I'd still use Cloud Run.
I was about to say the same. Kind of, to me, after, especially now that the Google Cloud Run is more mature and it's better and what's not, I see cloud functions as legacy stuff. It's legacy.
I think the other thing too with Run being multi-region natively.
Correct.
I mean, I don't think Cloud Functions has that. I haven't looked at it that close recently. But it seems like all of the true thought and design has gone towards Cloud Run versus Cloud Functions, just comparing just the two.
And now you know what people are facing? Hey, now the investment in changing from functions to containers is too high. Because whenever you write functions, doesn't matter whether it's Google Cloud Functions or it's Lambda or whatever you're using, you are basically forced to adopt the framework of that provider. It's not literally whatever you write. You need to use their libraries, their frameworks, or whatsoever. Depends from implementation to implementation. So there is work involved to switch from one function solution to another or from functions to something else. I mean, there is always a cost, but this has a bit higher cost than, switching from Google Cloud Run to something else has almost no cost because, hey, it's a container image. This is not the case.
That's correct. So if you're using Google Cloud Functions, you can run a minimum now, but you should start thinking, should I even be using functions anymore? I'm not anti-function. I'm just... Now, I will say this. So here's the deal. Here's where it goes. Right. Over the past year, many new capabilities, including new runtimes, new regions, enhanced user and developer experience, blah, blah, blah. Fine-grained security, blah, blah, blah. Cost and scaling controls. But I had all of that over a year ago in Google Cloud Run because it was an image. It was all there to begin with. I still do not understand why people are so enamored with functions as a service. I just don't. I see the examples and I understand them, but why?
Because it takes time. Functions in that form, because I could argue the Google Cloud Run is a form of functions or serverless or whatever you want to call it, but functions in this form, just as lambdas and all the others, they exist longer. That's the thing.
Yeah.
People had time to digest the need to use them and then adopt them and then abuse them. And those are always the 3 stages. Get convinced that something is good, adopt that something, abuse that something, and then the 4th phase is ay.
You need to rework that and come up with 5, so it's like the 5 stages of grief, the 5 stages of serverless, or the 5 stages of functions as a service.
Okay, we'll think of 5th one.
Yeah.
The one that comes after ay.
Would be whatever Cloud Run would be. Okay. So we go from this small little thing of talking about functions as a service. By the way, not small, whatever. I'm not a fan. I'm not opposed, just not a fan. I saw this week. Zero. I feel very scared with this. It gives you the ability. The promise of this is too good, in my opinion. I think it's legitimate, but I think it's too good. Zero sets up everything you need so you can immediately start building your product. This is targeted towards high-quality SaaS application and technical founders. Okay, number 1, It only works on AWS. It's built to only run on AWS. It builds AWS infrastructure. Again, makes sense. No problem with it. All you need is an AWS account. Just enter your CLI tokens or choose your existing profile. Okay, I won't argue too much there, but I'll go with it. Everything's infrastructure as code. Good, thumbs up. But then what's happening? What do we get out of the box? We get VPCs per environment, staging and production with pre-configured subnet security groups, etc. An EKS cluster per environment, pre-configured with Cert Manager, external DNS, Nginx. That's not bad. I like that. An RDS database for your application. That's a bad idea. Not bad, but that should be a choice. And then S3 buckets and CloudFront distributions to serve your assets. That's smart. And then logging and metrics, however you want to do it. You can potentially get a VPN into it using WireGuard. Very good idea. Having a VPN out of the box, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
IAM type stuff with Oathkeeper and Kratos. Whatever.
So here's the question. Why is this for startups and SaaS? I mean, if I exclude the databases, if I exclude that part, because really which database I'm going to use, you can dictate that only if I'm literally starting something today.
Correct.
So if I exclude that, it's yet another opinionated Kubernetes platform, right? So why startups and SaaS is beyond my understanding.
I think it's a market. Obviously, it's a marketing ploy. They're just targeting startup founders to do whatever it is. Golang or Node.js automatically set up. Now, you're fine with that. They're leaving out a lot. For most startups today, they're going to be Go or Node. I'll give them that. But if you're somebody like me that is going to lean towards a JVM-based language first. Doesn't mean I'll stay there, but first, you left me out. CI pipelines, either with Circle CI or GitHub Actions. Okay. There's email support using SendGrid. Or see, this is the thing I like about it. They give you some options to choose what you want to use.
Sure.
What I don't like is there's certain things here. Again, I haven't dug into it that deep. I just don't want this at all. Like I would say, nope, I don't need that. Don't want that.
Or you might not want one of those. You might want 0 or 1 or 7. Maybe you have more than one application.
Correct.
But yeah.
It's I can't fault them too much, and they're also breaking up into back end and front end.
So now I think I understand why this is targeted towards startups and hubs. And by startups, they probably mean literally you're starting today. You did not start yet. Because there's so much stuff put into that, which is great, that anybody who basically has any prior experience is likely going to have one or two things that should be done differently. So kind of like, I would change the marketing material of that project, startups with people who are also kind of like inexperienced, right? So you did not yet choose the framework, the database, the language. You haven't chosen any of those things. We're going to start a new company, and none of us is really has any opinion about any of those things. Now, I like opinionated tools. Don't take me wrong. I think that opinionated tools are great. But there's so much packed there that the chance that I will not want one of those is too high. Maybe I think that they maybe went too far.
Yeah, but again, that's without us actually doing anything with it yet.
Yeah.
I have to give them a little bit of grace here, but let's see what the.
I mean, realistically, to be honest, you setting up this, if that's what you need, you setting up this is a nightmare.
Yes.
I mean, I can see how valuable this is if that's what you need. Exactly.
Yeah. Just to do all of this would take, if you're new, going back to you, for someone that's inexperienced, this could take weeks to get right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, only the AWS part, man, can take infinite amount of time.
So this is what it builds, or at least according to them, this is what it builds. So
nice. But then we have another problem, and I think that maybe probably my main beef with this is support that said email, right? Because the target audience of this is likely going to encounter the issue that they're not going to understand what's going on. Because if you look at that diagram and say, okay, we are not really experienced that much with this thing. We want to use this tool to bootstrap us. I think that so far so great. Things are going to go wrong within a week. They always do. And then? So
right.
I think that that telepresence should be probably used by, so this would require some support, kind of like, hey, yes, I can call the guy. He can connect to my account and see what the heck is going on.
Right. Let's see what their docs look like here. Get 0.dev. Installation. Docs are nice. Prereqs. Let's look at how it works here. You say 0 init, you answer some questions, and from that point, this looks like Copilot.
Yeah, I mean, with a much wider scope, right? Copilot is not really going that far, but yes, similar to Copilot.
Copilot, EKS Cuddle, it's that same type of user experience, which there was no need to recreate the user experience for this. Let's put it that way. That has been solved very well. Concepts, core concepts, projects and modules. Okay. Again, they're based on Terraform, so you would expect to hear those kinds of words used. So, zero, overview. Why zero is good for startups. Whew. As I hear, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. As a technical founder or the first technical hire to start up, your sole focus is to build logic for your application and get it into your customers' hands quickly and reliable as possible. I don't know that I agree with that statement.
But
I understand what they're trying to say. I don't agree with it.
here's the thing. Let's play the game.
Okay.
You're the first technical hire, right? So we're
Yes.
talking about one-man team,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So why AWS? Why go crazy in a one-man team and go AWS? I mean, I'm not now trying to say anything wrong about AWS. AWS is great, but
Right.
AWS is not a one-man team.
No.
Kind of like,
Let's-
look at that. 90% of that diagram is probably AWS itself.
Yes. No,
So
this
why-
is completely 100% AWS.
Okay, even worse. So why not DigitalOcean, Linode, Civo? Kind of, hey, we're saying getting here from Gwoden. Why not Google Firebase? Yes. So I would not even go Google. I mean, I love Google. Google is my favorite, but not even Google. I mean, if you would need to choose between AWS and Google, one person, yeah, go to Google. But Linode, DigitalOcean, Civo, one of those three. And half of your problems will disappear simply because you will not have the complexity that you do not need when you're in a one-person team.
I'm going to go even further than that. Why not Heroku or Fly or Render?
Exactly.
Right? Or Civo if
Or-
I've got to have Kubernetes. Right?
Exactly. Or
It's-
Netly. Now, if you have some understanding of Kubernetes, I would still go, assuming that you have understanding, that you're familiar with it, I
Yeah.
would go with Kubernetes because then I can have the argument, okay, and one day when if you outgrow Civo or
Yeah. Wherever you're
DigitalOcean,
at.
whatever,
Yeah.
you just move that cluster. It's not going
Yeah.
to be 1 minute, it never is, but
It's doable.
move it to AWS or
Yeah.
Google or wherever you want.
Yep. This is for our government. That's what it feels like. Well, I'm looking at this picture right now. And this kind of spend each month, you're going to be burning $8,000 to $10,000 here a month, probably.
Exactly. So hire another person. So you have 2 people team or 3 people team. Let's say 2 people team
Yeah.
instead of 1. That's double the capacity with 1/4 of complexity.
Correct. Because if all of this is based on Kubernetes and everything we're doing is Kubernetes based,
Yeah, this is Kubernetes. So
that's what I'm saying. Everything's based on EKS. That's what I'm saying. Is if you've made the decision that I'm going to run everything on Kubernetes, just because you're running something on Kubernetes does not mean that you need to manage Kubernetes. Period.
exactly. And guess what? All those, I'm not sure about Civo though, but Linode and DigitalOcean, they give you Kubernetes cluster. They give you a managed database, which is one of the things there. They give you a load balancer. Those are the 3 things you need, assuming that you're going with Kubernetes. Database, load balancer, Kubernetes. Done. And then all the rest that is in that list, like, was it Circle CI and GitHub Actions? Yeah, that works with anybody. So all the rest of the list works with anybody.
Exactly. Again, and I've been guilty of this, picking AWS when I was at my startup was the right answer in 2012. It's not 2012 anymore.
First, it's not 2012. Second, AWS is a very valid choice with somebody who is proficient with AWS.
Yes.
A small startup. So let's say that I already worked here and there, and I'm a first hire in a new startup. I already have my Terraform, Pulumi, Crossplane, whichever tool I'm using, scripts. I'm going to set up the cluster with things I need like this. but this is not the target audience, right? Not this is about people who are not experienced with AWS. So big thumbs down. I mean, please don't start a startup without understanding AWS, having only one person and going to AWS. No.
What I think would be interesting here is I want to go back to what it looks like. Whoops, I'm at the bottom. What I think would be cool is this is something that would change over time as you're getting ready to release. They're talking about per environment, right? Fully configured infrastructure, AWS environment. The only environment that should be AWS is prod. Maybe prod and staging.
One person team is pushing directly to prod, let's face it.
That's true.
When I was doing my own gigs long time ago alone, kind of freelancer stuff, man, I was pushing directly to production. I have no time for staging and development and this and that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't argue. But let's assume you've got 3 people. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it make more sense from a cost perspective that production is only in your most resilient environment and anything lower is somewhere else? Or at least you have the option to go somewhere else. Right? And this is actually based on, we're going to be doing a podcast episode, I don't know when we're going to record it, in probably a couple weeks, about how to develop microservices. And this is the case to where if I've got everything running in AWS and that's the only reason I'm in AWS, I'm wasting a lot of money. Period. Because local isn't always going to work. Local development is not always going to work for microservices.
True.
It will fall over at some point. So how do you have a good environment to do full everything? I was going to say full stack, but that's not right. But all the microservices all at once. Whether you need to run a complete sandboxed microservice stack. I don't know. I like the concept of this. And I think they're doing a lot of things right. Like the one thing that I really like a lot is they have a VPN. Although it's optional, it's there. That's one of the hardest things to get right. So
the idea is good. Just why AWS?
Why AWS for being the, I'm going to use their words again, either the technical founder or the first technical hire.
Exactly. And I need to make this clear. This is, sorry, people don't know, this is not trashing. I'm not trashing AWS. I'm not trying to say anything wrong about AWS. It's just that every tool has different audience or a platform.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go on further than that. We're not trashing AWS. We're trying to not trash zero. It's just unless you are a highly venture-backed company and you can throw away money at infrastructure that you're not using, then okay, pick AWS, right? It's
if you can throw away money, then throw away to have more than one person, more than one technical hire.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about something a little more joy, happy. Shipwright.
Yeah, Shipwright.
Why did you choose Shipwright? Now, we've talked about Shipwright before. Not in depth, but we've mentioned it. It's been in passing. Yeah. Why do you like Shipwright so much?
I like it because it's the first tool of the kind that is written for Kubernetes. First tool that I used. It's important to say this. I'm not saying the first tool that I used that is designed for us to define builds in Kubernetes clusters that I know of. Now that might sound confusing because I've been saying, hey, Kaneko is in my opinion, the best tool or one of the best tools to build container images in Kubernetes clusters. But Kaneko is a CLI type of tool that happens to be baked into container. This is defining through Kubernetes manifests how, when, why, and all those things around container images. And I like defining everything as a desired state and then pass it to Kubernetes and letting Kubernetes do the stuff. And on top of that, it simplifies some of the complexity of the tools that you might be using. So you can choose Builda, Canico, whichever. I think like 7, 8 type of tools, and you don't need to worry about them. It just works. There are some missing pieces as well. They still didn't solve the problem of how to trigger those things beyond me doing kubectl and a few others. But I was very excited when I started using the tool, so I had to make a video. It's a good one. It's a really, really good one. Not necessarily good one as if they're finished, but it's a tool of the kind that is going on a good path, I think.
What was the one thing that you didn't like about it? There was one con. Well, you had a couple of cons, but there was one con that stood out from the others.
Yeah, you cannot specify. So it's split into different things. Like think of it, definitions and builds and build runs. Right. So build is kind of general. Hey, I want to build this container and this and that, and then you run as many build runs as many times you are building images. And I couldn't specify the source in a build run. So I could fine tune. So let's say that in a build you specify, hey, it will be this image. Latest tag, and then in build run you say, hey, I want to build that image and this specific tag, so you can override the default value. I can do that for images, but I cannot do that for the sources, which is Git repository. So that's my biggest problem. It's not really designed to build from variable repositories. It could be different repository, or different branch, or different commit, what's not. It basically is designed as it is now to build always from the head. And the second thing is that there are no triggers. You cannot define when Shipwright should be built. Now, the good news is that I spoke with the team behind it, and they're actually already working on addressing all the issues that I found. So it should be very different very soon.
Of course it will be.
I will find other complaints, just to clarify. Don't worry about that.
Hey, do me a favor. I'm going to put you back full screen. I'm going to drop this for a second. Hold up the 5 for me.
5?
Yeah, just
Like
hold up a hand. Yep. Okay, move it to your left a little bit more. And face it towards the camera a little bit more. Like, go 5 towards the camera. Just put your hand in closer, too far. There, perfect. Thank you very much. I will take care of that later on.
Is it the banner image?
It's going to be the thumbnail. So.
Thumbnail, yeah.
Okay, cool. We're almost at the bottom. I think you've got another meeting, if I remember right.
I don't think I have.
No? Okay.
Or I will
I didn't
ignore
look
it.
at it.
But anyways. Hey!
Yes.
The channel got 10K.
Yours got 10K?
10K. Last night while I was sleeping.
I was getting ready to check.
I wanted even to record it, kind of. I wanted to record it jumping from 9999 to 10K, and I fell asleep. I was devastated.
Here, I'll pull it up here. There it is. Oh, wait. It's in my ear. Hang on a second. Let me share it. There we go. You have 10K subscribers. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun. For everybody that's helped get us to there, thank you very much. Because this is as organic as it gets. We do not know how to do marketing if you haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. We definitely don't.
So, wow, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
So what's your next number? What's the number that you're looking at next?
50K September next year.
50K September next year. So you have 12 months to 5x add 40,000. Okay.
Hey, it started with a year ago. It was like 100.
I know. I actually, full disclosure, I have access to Victor's channel, and I looked at your subscriber numbers. Have you looked at like lifetime? of how
Lifetime?
that looks? The lifetime of your
Uh,
subscribers?
Yeah, I'm looking at it only 365 days simply because earlier
I,
than that I was doing nothing with the channel. To me, it
correct.
didn't exist.
I know, but if you were to take a look at it lifetime, just go do it once. Look at
Yeah.
your 2 inflection points, because there are 2 major inflection points up till today, and you'll see them, and it's shocking. The second one is actually the first one's more shocking than the second one. You need to figure out what you did in order to have that first inflection point.
The first big jump.
Yeah,
I know why I had it.
what was it?
Robots.
What?
You know that there are those automated.
Oh, yeah.
Bots.
Yeah,
I mean, not all of them, but
a lot of them.
because then afterwards you see how because I can see by the type of subscription, and when it's from other, and that's from other. So meaning it's not from any of the known sources. It's not a person. It's not this and that. It's bots.
I need you to show me how to figure that out. That's the thing. That's the one thing I haven't figured out about subscribing yet, or looking at that data. But that's for a different day.
It's funny because if I look at the stats, I find out that from the category other in last year, I had more of them unsubscribed than subscribed.
That's good.
That's Google kicking them out.
Yeah.
After a while,
Guess so.
so they're all gone. I wish actually, when I saw that spike, I thought, man, is this how it's going to be from now on? No.
Good. And in basically almost 10 days, we're going to have a Wednesday live stream. That's still the plan. I haven't heard anything. We need to start planning that next week.
Yes. Oh,
The
Oh,
15th.
good reminder.
Yeah.
We need a
So
banner. We need
I'll
a
send-
subject.
We need a lot more than that. But that's a start. I'll reach out to you on weekend or Monday, since Monday I technically am not working. Technically, I am not working. Guess what I am doing? I am working. The videos can never stop. So, all right. If you haven't joined up in the Slack workspace, that's scrolling right down below us. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed also over to Victor's channel, just go into YouTube and type Victor Farsik and you'll see the DevOps Toolkit. Oh yeah, you did call it DevOps Toolkit by Victor Farsik. Go subscribe there if you haven't subscribed there too. Again, we suck at marketing. We're sending you to multiple places, right? We're sending you to Slack. We're making you subscribe here. We're making you subscribe over at Victor's channel. Again, we don't know what we're doing, and that's okay.
Subscribe everywhere.
Subscribe everywhere. Buy all the books. Buy all the courses. Do all the things. And
Actually, I think it's fair to say to people listening in our long live stream, yes, subscribe. But in general, I don't feel like we should be better in marketing. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But I do not want people subscribing because they saw some ad in Twitter or something like that, because that's kind of, I want people to discover it and then like it and then subscribe if they do.
Yeah. Because more than likely they'll hang out for as long as they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. And,
Exactly.
And we're hopefully adding value. So, and if we're not really adding value and you're still just laughing at us, that's okay too. That's value add in my opinion. Laughing at us. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to go back and write some more scripts for next week. My eyes. Yeah, well. You would think that just making videos is a simple thing, right?
I don't. Others probably might.
You understand the pain. All right.
Oh yeah.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. If you watched the replay to this end, is this the end? Do we start some?
Might be.
Let's start some rumors. Is this the end? I don't think it's the end, but it's the end for today. So, thanks everybody for hanging out. We will talk to you again next week.